Hello again, fellow audiophiles. I am Wave Theory, and this is an original Audio Technica ATH-R70x. This is a full-size, open-back, dynamic driver headphone with a nominal impedance of 470 ohms. This was a loan to me from Apos Audio. Apos Audio has asked nothing in return other than a fair and honest evaluation and is an affiliate link, which I will provide down in the description below. So if you like what I have to say about this product and you want to consider buying it, please use that affiliate link and I will get a small kickback, and I only use affiliate link money to help keep the channel running. Now, I also recently reviewed Apos's version of the ATH-R70x known as the ATH-R70x Refine. Review for that down in the description, as well as an affiliate link where you can buy this one. So this review is really going to be more of a comparison of these two because they look pretty much the same, and so we don't really need to go over the build on this one a whole lot, but we do need to talk about how these are similar to and different from each other sonically. So more about that right after shameless self-promotion.
Hello. I'm one of the reasons that Wave Theory can't spend all of his money on audio gear. He wants you to know that your support is vital for keeping the channel running. So if you enjoy Wave Theory's bussin' review riz and no-cap review style and want to encourage him to stay in the basement so I don't have to listen to his dad jokes as much, like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can also send him a donation on PayPal or sign up for the Patreon. Links are in the description. Now on to the review.
So again, both of these are available for right about $300 US. As of the filming of this, the Refine is a limited edition. There will only be 1,000 of them ever made, as far as I know. And there are still some available from Apos, as far as I know, too. This video will be released early for patrons, but what I will do is reach out to my Apos rep and get as up-to-date information about the availability of the Refine, and then pin that information down in a comment below the video. So see down below for that. And again, I will get that as up to date as I can before the public release of this video. Okay, the original ATH-R70x here obviously served as the inspiration for the updated version here. And I mean, if you want more info on the build and the comfort and all of that, like, go see the review of the Refine, because they are exactly the same other than the styling, right? That is really the only aesthetic difference between the two. And then the only other ergonomic difference between the two is the cable. The cabling is still that really frankly dumb. You know, you can plug it in either end of the cable into either part of the headphone here, and it's a locking mechanism. See my rant about that in the previous video. And then the difference here is that with the original version, it comes with like a 12-foot cable that I have looped up and shortened here a little bit with a twist tie here, whereas it's a 2-meter cable with the Refine edition here. And so just the length of that cable is also different, and a little specifically longer on the ATH-R70x. But in terms of build and features and ergonomics and comfort and look and all of that, those are the differences between the two headphones. So let's get down to business here with the sonic differences. I compared these two directly to each other on 3 different signal chains here of note. I started with an entry-level signal chain, which was just my Asus ZenBook laptop, direct USB output into a Shitmagny Unity little DAC amp in it that has the ESS DAC card. Okay, used my laptop there as a Rune endpoint, played all lossless or high-res FLAC files, either locally or streamed from Qobuz, or a couple of local DSD files, which also had to be converted to PCM because the ESS DAC card in that little piece of shit doesn't do DSD. All right, the other signal chain that I tried was my Cord Hugo 2 with matching 2Go streamer, also has a Rune endpoint, same kind of files as before, into my KN-HA1A Mark II tube amp that is currently running Pavane Horizon series tubes, which are also in for review in the 12AU7 and EL84 slots. And then my really high-end signal chain that I used there is I used a Lampezator Baltic 3 into a LTA Z10E, fed through a Sonor Ultra Rendu into the Baltic, also as a Rune endpoint there, as well as just a really high-end signal chain to see how the differences would come out. Okay, what I found quite consistently here with these guys is that the Refine lives up to its name. It is a more refined and complete, and to me overall convincing and realistic sound than the original model here. But the sound signatures are a little bit different. So the sound of the original model here is still within the range of neutral, but I would call it neutral slightly mid-forward, where the Refine was still in the range of neutral, but more neutral warm. There's a little bit more perceptive influence here on like the mid-range frequencies that do cause things like vocals to stand out in the mix a little bit more. All right, so they are the vocals and all that are a little bit more present. They are a little bit more forward. They are, to me, like if you like them to stand out of the sound stage a little bit, to be a little bit more in your face and sound like they are kind of floating in front of the music a little bit. The original version does that a little bit more than the Refine, which doesn't really do that at all. So this one does there with it. Now, the original is still a fine sounding headphone. It has been a reference for a number of people for a while, and for good reason. It has pretty good resolution. It has pretty good three-dimensionality in its sound staging, and overall fairly neutral frequency response and presentation. It has good, not great, but useful dynamics to it, like impact and all of that. It is pretty solid. Just to my ears, the Refine is just a couple of steps ahead of it. The Refine, I personally like its tuning a little bit more. I like its warmth a little bit more, but also like the Refine is more evenly tuned. The tonal balance to it is more natural and more realistic and more accurate to my ears. Like there is no shoutiness or honkiness, or at least very little to the mid-range in the vocals on this one, where that can happen to me some here. There is relatively little sibilance going on in the treble on the Refine, where there's a little bit more happening here with the original in that regard as well. Plus, the Refine here is more resolving. And that shows up in a few ways. It is a little bit more holographic and three-dimensional in its spatial presentation than the original is. And so that's one way that the resolution comes out, because resolution does contribute to imaging, separation, depth, and layering and that sort of thing by pulling out the fine details and the subtle pitch changes and time delays and all of that that help our ear with localization. Okay, this does a better job with that. And so things like room reverbs also are like, they're more resolved. You hear a better sense of like where they're coming from, but like reverb sounds and all that can sound a little bit amorphous and present, but not really well defined on the original version, whereas they have a lot more definition and refinement to them, and also localizability. Okay, where is it kind of sound with the Apos update, the Refine, than the original does. Okay. So if I had to pick between these two, which one would I take? For me, it would be the Refine, no questions asked there, again, for me. However, the one thing that the original does that some people are going to appreciate is that vocal forwardness that I mentioned. If you are a person who kind of recoils at the idea of scooped mids, the original is going to be better for you. And that's because it has more energy through the frequencies where a lot of vocals have. So vocals are more present. They're pushed forward not only in the mix, but in the spatial presentation and all of that. They stand out more so on here. So if you listen to more vocal-oriented music, or you're just a person who needs more mid-range forwardness to sound real or natural, then the OG might be a slightly better option for you. But for everyone else, I would look at the Refine for as long as it is available. All right, so But I want to come back to the original is still a pretty good headphone at $300 US. Not the best at 300, but also far from the worst. It is another good solid option for using with OTL tube amps because of its high impedance. It doesn't really transform on a tube amp the way that a Sennheiser HD600 or HD650 will do or used to before solid state amps at the price have kind of caught up. Okay, so it doesn't really do that, but because of the high impedance, it at least plays well with OTL tube amps and becomes another solid option there. And then of course, this one is not a limited edition that is going to be going away when it sells out like the Refine is, so it's got that going for you too. So beyond the shelf life, I should say, of the Refine, is the original ATH-70X a solid buy? And I think so, particularly if you can get it on sale. If it goes on sale for around $250 or less than that, then I would say, yeah, it's a really solid buy there. But up around $300, it's just another of a lot of very good options that are out there at $300. So if its sound signature fits your preferences and it has the comfort, because it's very comfortable. These are both very comfortable. Okay. If its comfort works for you on that, then yeah, go ahead and snag it. Okay. But again, just for right now, with the Refine available for my tastes and so forth, I think the Refine is the better buy for most people while it lasts. Okay, so I am Wave Theory. This has been my review and comparison of the ATH-R70X with the comparison with the Apos Refine version. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, check out my PayPal and my Patreon, and generally do those things you do to support YouTube channels. And as always, enjoy the music.